Happy Monday, everyone. I am coming back after another long weekend and get to stay home for a bit, which is nice. Good weekends, but it's also nice to be staying home. So, very random topic, but as I believe I've said in here, one of the things that I do a lot at my office is clean. I do that twofold. One, I actually take charge of all the actual office cleaning here, but I also try to keep a habit of tidying up my office 5 minutes each time I come. It's generally a habit. There are some weeks where it doesn't happen, but it's really interesting, and I wanted to talk about cleaning actually in mental health. So I don't know that this will be a particularly long video because I want to stay succinct with the topic, but but I do think there's a lot to say about the effect of cleaning and tidying for mental health, and specifically cleaning, because I know people talk about like have an organized and tidy space, and that's one thing, but actually cleaning and taking time to clean. A lot of you, if you've gone through depressed states, you might have found that you slack on cleaning, whether that's personal hygiene or home cleaning. You just don't do it. There's a lack of motivation there, but there's always been something really unique to me on that one, with correlation between something being dirty and how people feel in your space. I've also always loved the idea that your primary space that you occupy is an externalization of where your mind is. So if you have a very dirty environment, very messy and disorganized, that there's a chance that your mind is also messy and disorganized. If you have a very artsy and eclectic space, there's a possibility, high possibility there, that you might have an artsy and eclectic mind. We tend to represent ourselves in the spaces that we occupy that are like our spaces specifically. So I think that's a really interesting thing to consider, and for anyone listening to look at whatever space you consider your space. So shared spaces really don't count. So like genuinely think about your space, what you consider yours. And a lot of us might not have that, but most of us have a small version of it. Even if you share a bedroom, you probably have a spot that's kind of yours, or a setting that's kind of yours. And depending on who you are, that might be a smaller and smaller space. Some of us might have multiple, like a home office, a work office, all those things. But just pay attention to whatever you consider your space and ask, is it messy? Is it dirty? What does it represent? Even objects that are yours. So if you don't have a full space, you might have something that's really, that you own, like an instrument or a couple books, and are they nice and neat on a little shelf by your bed, or are they just kind of tossed around? So just something to think about. But I do think there's a lot to say, I've already said that, about mental health with cleaning. And it's not a common question that I ask people that come in, like, how clean's your home? And I'm not asking them to go make their bed or anything like that. But I think it is worth reflecting on for yourself of when you start to feel down, what's your space look like? And this gets into the question of, first and second order change of, does my life start to get better when my mental health gets better? Or does my mental health get better when my life gets better? And I think they're both true. So someone who wants to feel better and the world around them is a mess, like their world that they can control. So that is a messy space oftentimes. That's whether or not they're being responsible, they're following through on their commitments, they're working hard at their relationships, they control that. So when those things are in disarray, sometimes people are like, I just want things to get better, I just want to feel better. But there almost always has to be some sort of action. We rarely, if ever, will improve or get better by just sitting still doing nothing. Even taking magic pills that do things, they don't actually teach you how to take care of yourself. They just give you an out a lot of the time, which can be fine for people who really need medication. I'm not saying you need to figure out how to live life without it. What I'm saying is that a lot of people, they don't need it, and they don't need these solutions outside of them. At times they absolutely do. That's pretty clear to me. There are times where we need outside assistance. But even then, a lot of the times those outside assistance feel more satisfying when we know that we can't fix that ourselves, because we've exhausted the options that are within our control. And now we result to, within my control, I'm choosing this outside object to help me. And that doesn't mean you should ignore help. I'm talking about like being altering things like medication. I'm not talking like get help early when you need help with people. Ask for help. Don't sit there and wait till you've done everything yourself necessarily. Just focus on growth as opposed to finding a cop-out is what I would say. And I do think a lot of people, probably most people, are just looking for an easy way out. And one of the best tools I think anyone can use is to work on cleaning your space up, taking care of the space that's yours, and taking ownership of what's yours, taking responsibility over what's yours, anything that's been given to you, anything that you're trusted for, anything that you are stewarding in your space, to take ownership of it. Clean your space, clean up. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. I'm looking at things in here that could be better, things that would take more than my 5 minutes a day. You know, putting some, I don't know why I'm blanking on the word. I want to say stucco, but I don't think it's right. Filling the holes in the wall and then painting over it. Like, I don't know the paint on these walls. I don't know what I would do. Some stuff would be more involved. Maybe there's some paint lying around. I'll do like a day of deeper cleaning of it. So, and that might be fine to do that. But if I'm just doing 5 minutes a day, that's not the same. But I do believe in deep cleaning and doing just an overhaul. And I think people can do that mentally too. Just, all right, let's do a bigger check-in. Where are we at? What do we need? So a kitchen's a good example. It's easy to let a kitchen go, but if you do 5 minutes on your kitchen a day, you'll have a clean kitchen like pretty much all the time. And so a lot of times we do overhauls to get started. You'll see this a lot with training programs and online courses and programs. They'll find a way to make you really successful really quick. Video games do that too. You level up early on. You start to get your items and your slots open really early on. You get stuff quickly, so that way you're interested fast, and then those get harder and harder to get. That's not just a marketing tool to get you to play longer. That's also how a lot of life becomes too. Not all the time, but you know, if you get quick satisfaction. So maybe your kitchen's a disaster and you said, I'm going to do this for an hour, and you work on it for an hour. You will totally see a difference in an hour if you're actually trying. It's almost impossible not to. You'll notice a difference. And then once you have it down to a maintenance stage, if you just do 5 minutes a day, you're fine. And not every kitchen even needs 5 minutes a day. Another thing that I try to do in practice, and I go through phases of doing this better or worse depending on where I'm at, is just asking myself, how can I make any space I enter better? So I do this in 2 ways. One, walk into a space. If I come into my room, there's something, even a fuzz or some grass or string on the ground, just grab it and throw it away. A little thing like that. So when entering rooms, also when exiting. So if there's something in here that needs to be in a different room, take it on your way out. And doing that at home too. Every time I go into the kitchen, I try to make something a little bit neater. Whenever I exit, something needs to move, I get it closer. And that's what I do in a non-cleaning mode. I'm just, every space you interact with, can you make it better? And I really like that question because it's not a set standard for how that has to look. It's just, can you make this space better? And sometimes that's relationally, you interact with people. Other times, it's just cleaning and tidying things up, organize something, getting something looking neater. Really small things. And if you just have a habit of doing that, things don't get in disarray a lot. And if you can get good at doing little bursts of cleaning on a regular basis, you don't need to do a lot, and then only occasionally you need to do really big cleaning bursts. And that changes depending on other factors, like how many little kids you have, how many pets you have, if you're sharing the space with people who don't do that, if you're caring for someone that makes messes and stuff like that. So there's other factors, of course, and then you just figure out how to adapt to that. But keeping a clean space is important. And again, not a perfectly tidy space. That's not what I'm saying. Just clean and livable, where people can come into your space and relax. A standard for me is like, if I enter someone's home or space, am I comfortable taking my shoes off? And for me, it's being barefoot. That might be more uncomfortable for some people. It might be being in your socks. Like, are you grossed out? Or are you grossed out to set your stuff down on someone's counter or on their couch and stuff like that? And that's kind of my standard for myself, is I want people to be able to come into my space and feel comfortable and not like things are dirty. And some of that's subjective to people, like they just feel that way a lot and that's their personality, but just in general, am I creating a clean space for myself to occupy and that invites people in to feel comfortable around me? And I think that's important, and all the way down to a personal level. So not coming in disheveled to work. I don't think people need to come in looking absolutely perfect or amazing, but am I presentable? Do I have stains on my outfit? Does it look like I got here late and rushed in? Like, just personally being clean, space being clean, even and mentally being clean. Am I coming in feeling scattered, or am I coming in present with people? This overall sense, both literally and metaphorically, of I'm inviting in a clean space and I'm inviting people into a clean space. So again, I'm going to keep it short today. I'm not going to go much further than that, but I encourage anyone listening to just clean your spaces, practice cleaning. It does help with your mental health. Whenever you're feeling down, make sure your space is clean. Tidy up, among other things. Like, don't stop doing things that are good for you, ever. We get so tempted when we're depressed or anxious or beside ourselves and we don't know what to do, and you can always just do things that you know are right and know are good. Always. And we don't forget those generally. Most people know if I take care of my body, if I take care of my home, if I take care of my responsibilities, overall things are better. Even if I'm just as depressed when I started as when I ended, at least I'm depressed with a healthier body, cleaner space, a paycheck because I didn't just bail on work. Like, those are still good for you. And most of us will come out of those low moments. And it's nice to come out of it knowing that you still did what you needed to do and what you promised to do, versus coming out of it and having to pick up the pieces. So, and again, energy and ability, this isn't, again, about perfection. It's do what you can. And next time, do it again. Get in the habit of doing what you can. And it's going to be hard sometimes, and that's okay. And it's arguably good for you. It is good for you to do hard things. It wires your brain differently. I always space that. It might be the anterior cingulate cortex. It's part of your brain that fires differently when it does things it doesn't want to do, that are hard. So there's hard that you don't want to do, and there's hard that you like to do. Those are different in your brain. So this isn't about doing what you want. It's about doing what's good for you and what's right in a difficult way. So, and you can have your standards of clean. I don't clean as extremely neat as other people, and I also don't clean as loose as other people. I have my way to do it, and my space feels clean, and I generally feel like people feel clean in the space with me. So, just some things to think about, and I'll leave it at that for today. But yeah, consider how cleaning and mental health are intersected in your life, and I'd be curious to hear what people think. If you are interested in talking more, interested in therapy services with me, or having me help you get connected, feel free to email me in the email below. And other than that, I will look forward to talking to everyone next Monday. Thanks and bye.